Something a little different today in the video. We're going to show you how we make our kale and eggs recipe. If you have kale and you have eggs, which we have both from the garden and chickens are laying, this is a really quick, easy meal that's pretty delicious and uses up some of the kale that you have in the garden, because kale does get pretty prolific, especially as the season goes on. So to start, we're gonna take our kale, and what I've done is I've taken the leaves off, the kale plant, and then taken the stem out. So basically just peel it or cut it to get the stems out. I then rinse the leaves and I chop them up. These are chopped up nice and small, so about an inch, maybe an inch and a half squares. Just chop them up. And this can be any kind of kale. Today I used a Russian red and some sort of purple kale that I had, but you can use whatever kind. We curly leaf, lacinato, dinosaur, whatever you want. So take those and these, get them all prepped, wash them off, and then you're going to go to a large saute pan. So I'm using my cast iron 10-inch pan here. Throw some chopped up onions in there. So these are just chopped up onions, and I like to add a little bit of the stems chopped up. It adds a little crunch. So all I really did was I took a few of these and just chopped them up real small on the cutting board and then put them in here. And then as many slices of bacon as you want. For my wife and I, we like to use 3 slices total for the 2 of us. You can add more or less depending on what you like. The next thing I normally do is I would put in some beef tallow. We make beef tallow. We render it ourselves. But I'm out right now, so I'm just going to use some good old-fashioned olive oil. You can use any kind of oil that you want in this. It doesn't matter. If you want to use pork, bacon fat or something like that, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Crisco, anything you have, lard, even just regular corn oil would work. So you're going to do that, and you're going to put it on high for a little while, and cook it down until the onions get slightly translucent. What's going to happen at that point is we'll start adding the leaves in and add some liquid to help steam it, and then we'll cover it and let it go, and then we'll let that cook for about 10 minutes or so, and then put some eggs on it. But I'll come back as I get ready to add the leaves here in a little bit so that you can see what it looks like before we add the leaves in, and then put them in, and I'll show you the rest of the ingredients. All right, so this has been going for a little bit, maybe like 5 minutes. You can see that the onions aren't really cooked yet. They're just starting to kind of get a little clear on the edges. You don't want the food to cook all the way. This is the goal of this was to kind of release the flavors of so that when you put the kale in there and you add your liquid, it all can kind of meld together and get a good flavor. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to grab handfuls of kale and drop it in. It'll crackle a little bit when you put it in there, and that's normal, don't worry. Your heat should be right around medium to medium high. Not too hot. You don't want it to be like, blazing hot, but you also want it to be warm enough that it actually keeps cooking as you put this cold kale in. So I like to squish it down. Be careful if you do that. You can burn yourself with the steam, of course. So only do that if you're comfortable with your hand near the pan. If you're not, don't worry about it. You can use a spatula or a spoon or tongs or whatever you want. So at this point, really all we're going to do is we're just going to kind of start to cook the kale just a little bit. You don't need to worry about it cooking all the way. We're going to cook it more in a little bit. And then as it sits in there for a minute or two, you can turn it, and you'll notice it starts to turn a little brighter of a green color, and it'll start to wilt. You don't need it to get all the way wilted, but you do want to start that cooking process by turning these, and then get the stuff that was at the top down to the bottom so that you got heat going throughout the pan. So we're just going to do that and turn it a little bit here. So that's pretty good. We don't need to cook it significantly at this point. We're going to do that here in a minute. Clear this off, set my tongs down. The next thing we're going to grab is, should have had this out, is we are going to grab some pepper flakes. So if you don't like spicy food and you don't want to add the pepper flakes, feel free to not do it. I like it. My wife likes it. We like a little kick in it. So just add some regular old red pepper flakes, just your dried red pepper flakes. You could also add some chili powder or something if you wanted to, or probably even a little bit of hot sauce if you like, because there will be eggs in here. So yeah, you can see that's kind of settling down now, flattening out a little bit. And you notice, it's probably only half the size it was. So at this point, I think we're ready to start adding the liquid. You can also add salt and pepper right now if you want. I like to wait a little bit and add that closer to the end. Today's liquid that we're going to use is going to be cider, because that's what we have. So we'll open that up. And we're just going to pour some in. You don't have to be exact with it. Pour it on the pan. And then just go ahead and cover it up. You're going to let it steam for about 10 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and add the eggs. Okay, so it's been cooking for 10 minutes. You can see I've got it on just below medium, so it's kind of warm. And remember, in a cast iron pan, it does keep the heat a little better, so if you're using an aluminum pan, you can probably keep it on medium. The lid can come off, and you can take a look and see how your kale is looking. What you're looking for is for the kale to be pretty close to the point where you would eat it at this point. You don't want it to be super tough. Sometimes if you have a curly kale, it'll be a little tougher and it might take a little longer than 10 minutes. If you have young kale, it'll probably take less than 10 minutes. Just kind of use your best judgment. There's no real, hard and fast rule to this. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting holes or digging holes in the kale. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to drop some eggs in there in these holes. So I've got 4 holes pulled out of the kale, and I'm going to take 4 eggs from our chickens. We have some olive eggers, and I'm going to use eggs from them. So yeah, we're going to crack them, put them in there, and then put some salt and pepper over top the whole thing, and then cover it up again. So give me a second here. I'll go ahead and crack these, put them in, and I'll bring you back. All right, eggs are cracked and they're dropped in. So basically now all you got to do is cover it back up, put some salt and pepper on it, and then cover it back up and let it cook for another minute or two. Basically what we're going to look for is for the yolks to cook all the way through. Or sorry, not the yolks, but the whites to cook all the way through. All right, so as you can see, I got salt and pepper on them. I seasoned the entirety of the pan. I'm going to drop the lid on, and we're just going to let them go for a bit. Like I said, just watch them. Don't consider them done until the eggs are at the, doneness that you like. If you want them hard-boiled, basically, you can cook them a long time and get the yolk totally firm. If you like them like sunny side up or over easy style, then just let the white cook a little longer and the yolk cook less. So just keep an eye on them, and when they're ready, they'll be ready. I will come back in a few minutes when they're at our liking and show you the final product. All right, I think these are about done for where we like them. So you can take the top off, and you can see here we have them, and they're cooked, but not all the way cooked through. We like a little bit of a runny yolk. So basically all you're going to do is you're going to scoop the eggs out, put them on your plate, and bring the kale with it. We have 2 servings here. This could be as many as you wanted or as few as you wanted. Adjust the egg amount accordingly and the size of your pan accordingly to how many people you're going to feed. All right, I'm going to plate these out, and I'll be back in a second to show you the final view on a plate. And here we have it. The dish is done. We've got 2 servings here. Once again, you can make these servings as big or as small as you want. You'll notice that if we break this open, the yolk is definitely still a teeny bit runny in there. What we like to do is chop the eggs up and mix them in. This is a great way to use kale that you have, because kale does come in pretty heavy at certain times of the year. And of course, if you have chickens like we do, we're starting to get eggs, and this is a great use for that as well. So you can have your kale and your eggs that you raised yourself, or of course store-bought ones work just as well. And it's a terrific quick dinner. It takes maybe 15 minutes to make. The longest time is probably processing the kale, washing it and chopping it. But outside of that, very easy. It's a delicious meal, and it's quick, and it's pretty healthy, I think. Good amount of protein and kale. So kale, it can't be that bad for you, right? We do spice it up with some bacon, though. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks, and have a good one.